In this video, I will go through the steps from the practice exercise 4A, set up a bookcase family. The first thing I need to do is start with a family template. I'm going to select the file, pull down, select new, and then select family. In the new family select template dialog box, I'll select furniture. In this view, I'm going to type WT, and I want to get rid of views that I don't necessarily need for this object creation. I type WT again so I can get the two views to be side by side. I'll type ZA for zoom all so that I can see the complete picture of the two views. The next thing I want to do is create the reference planes, which is in task 2, and we will assign dimensional controls to those reference planes. As a review, these two reference planes come out of the box from Revit, and they are pinned, and this represents the insertion point of the object you're creating. Additionally, if I go to the Family Types button, you're going to see that there's nothing in here in terms of any sort of parametric controls for the width, length, height, and other parametric settings. So let's start creating those reference planes. You can either go to the Create tab and click on the Reference Plane tool, or you can type RP. With those reference planes created, I now want to control their behavior with dimensions. I'm going to type DI, and for this first process, I want to make sure that those reference planes are centered about that defined reference plane provided by Revit. And this process is simply, I just keep clicking with my dimension tool until I'm done, and I place the dimension and select the equal sign. The next thing I need to do is select the overall reference plane dimensions, and these we will assign parametric values to. While I'm here, I'm going to select the right one and rename it right. The left one is going to be left. The front one, you got it, front. And the back one, back. I know they don't tell you to do that in the book, but it's a good practice to get in the habit of. Now let's assign these dimensions some parametric controls. I'm going to select the 5 foot wide dimension. Click on this icon up here, and I'm going to type in width. And I'm going to leave it set as a type, and I'm going to go ahead and allow it to be associated in the group parameters under dimensions. One of the things you can do is you can actually add a tooltip if you would like to, and type in something like, and then select OK. That will tell the person who's using this object what that parameter is actually associated with. And when I'm through, you can see it is now updated, and it's identifying that dimension as a width parameter dimension. I'm going to select that one and go through the same steps. I'm not going to put in a tooltip. You can do that on your own. Now, one thing about these parameters were created as family parameters, and what that means is that if you were to do a schedule based on these objects, you would not necessarily get this information within your schedule. These are not shared parameters. The next reference plane I'm going to put in is going to be this one, and it's going to be in behind this one, so I'm going to type RP, and I'm just going to draw in that reference plane. In the book, they want us to go ahead and dimension that reference plane, so I'll do that over here. I'm going to type DI and hit the escape key, select the reference plane, and then change the dimension to the value that they want us to use. Once I have that selected, I'm going to select the dimension and click on the padlock to control its placement. That means if the depth dimension changes, which I can change right here, you'll see that both the front and back dimensions adjusted as well as this one, but it maintained its relationship to the front reference plane because I locked that dimension. In the types parameter, or family types dialog box, I'm going to change these dimension values to 1 foot 1 and 3 foot 6 respectively, and select apply. And as you can see, the entire reference plane group adjusted automatically. I'm going to save this project, or save this family, do a save as a family, and in this case I'm going to save it to my desktop. I'm going to call it 4A, and additionally I might put an underscore R20 just so anyone looking at this knows that it's based on the Revit 2020 file. I'm going to click on the options button and give myself only one backup and select save. The next process is going to do with the elevation view, and in the elevation view I'm going to create another set of reference planes. Now this bottom one is going to be for the Toekick, so I'm going to just type top of Toekick. This one is going to be a shelf parameter, so I'm going to call it shelf 1, shelf 2, shelf 3, and this very top one, I'm going to call it top of bookcase. So now I have all my reference planes identified, and now I'm ready to start putting in my dimensional controls. And all of that is shown to you in task 3 for that exercise. The first dimensional control I'm going to put in is going to be from the reference level all the way up to the top of the bookcase. The next one will be from the reference level to the Toekick. Then from there, I'm going to place in dimensional controls for each one of these shelf reference planes. So here's the first one, the second one, and then the third one. If I click on the Toekick reference plane, that is going to be parametric control solution. So we can either call this base or Toekick. I'm going to call it base, as I have it identified in the book. And instead of placing this under dimensions, I'm going to place it under other. And what I'm telling the end user is this is a parametric control that you don't really need to change. It's something that will remain the same pretty much most of the time. I'm going to click on the Family Types dialog box and change that value from 6 inches to 4 inches. And you can see it adjusted for me automatically. The next thing I want to select is going to be this overall height dimension. I'm going to select that and I'm going to call it height and select OK. And then now we need to do these shelf dimensions. So I'm going to pick this first one, and I'm going to call that, as they do in the book, shelf height. And again, select OK. Now, since the shelf heights are spaced the same, I only needed to create one parameter. So I can select each one of these and assign those to the same parameter. So now that all my parameters have been identified, and all my reference planes have been identified, and all the dimensional controls have been identified, it's time to do some math. And the math is pretty simple. If I go to this Family Types dialog box, the only one I really need to make an adjustment to is this one for the height. And I want to make sure that it's set up so that these shelves will always be spaced equally based on the height of the bookcase. So the way I can do that is in this formula area of the dialog box. I'm going to put in the formula. And this formula is going to be pretty basic. It's going to be left paren, the overall height, minus the base height, and I'm going to divide that by 4. And what I'm telling Revit is that I'm taking the overall height of the bookcase, I'm subtracting out the depth of the base, the height of the base, and then that final value, I'm dividing that by 4. So that gives me 4 equal spaces for the shelves. When I select apply and then select OK, you're going to see everything is adjusted for me. Now while I'm here, I'm going to select that height value. If I click on it twice, I can type in a value right there. And if I click in an open space, you can see it's adjusted, and you can see the shelf heights have all adjusted for me automatically. So this is how you create the bones, if you will, for a family object that you might want to create. In the next video, we'll look how we can apply geometry to these bones.